Welcome back. Tonight we're venturing into the shadows of hotel hallways, where comfort is an illusion and the night hides more than you think. Hotels are meant to be safe havens, but sometimes they become the backdrop for unforgettable terror. We'll explore chilling accounts of guests who discovered they weren't alone, and that the person next door might not be what they seem. These stories remind us the most frightening things can happen when we're far from home. So, turn down the lights, lock your doors, and prepare for 3 truly scary hotel horror stories. Let's hope your next stay is nothing like these. Tonight, we delve into the shadowy corners of the hospitality industry, where the mundane meets the macabre. Our first story comes from Mark, a night auditor at a quiet Ohio hotel, a place seemingly ordinary, yet harboring a secret that sent chills down the spines of staff and guests alike. He was a man of routine, accustomed to the stillness of the late hours, but nothing could have prepared him for the unsettling events that unfolded during his time there. The building was new, a modern structure promising comfort and convenience to its patrons. It stood as a testament to progress, a beacon of contemporary design in the heart of Ohio. But room 313 had a reputation for the inexplicable, a dark cloud hanging over its otherwise pristine facade. It was a room whispered about in hushed tones, a place where the veil between worlds seemed thin, and the ordinary laws of reality bent to unseen forces. Guests complained of TVs flickering to static, a jarring interruption in the quiet of the night, as if some unseen entity was trying to communicate through the electronic waves. The screens would buzz and distort, displaying nothing but white noise and ghostly shadows. Whispers in the empty room, voices just on the edge of hearing, murmuring secrets that no one could quite decipher. Some described them as mournful sighs, others as playful taunts, but all agreed that they were undeniably present, a constant reminder that they were not alone, and faucets blasting on at night, water gushing forth with no one there to turn the handle. It was as if an invisible hand was playing tricks, a mischievous spirit reveling in the confusion and unease it caused. Maintenance found nothing wrong, pipes were sound, wiring was secure, yet the strange occurrences persisted, defying logical explanation. The staff began to feel a sense of dread, knowing that they were dealing with something beyond their understanding. Management used 313 only when desperate, avoiding it whenever possible, relegating it to the last resort when the hotel was bursting at the seams. They hoped to minimize the complaints and maintain a semblance of normalcy, but the room's reputation preceded it, casting a shadow over their efforts. One busy weekend, a couple checked in, exhausted from their travels and eager for a restful night. Little did they know, their stay would be anything but peaceful. 313 was all that was left. The hotel was completely booked, every other room occupied, leaving them with no alternative. Mark handed them the keys, a sense of foreboding washing over him as he did so. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was sending them into the heart of something sinister, hoping for a quiet night. He tried to push the room's history to the back of his mind, focusing on the task at hand, but the unease lingered. But at 3:30 a.m., the witching hour, when the veil between worlds is at its thinnest, the phone rang. Its shrill tone shattered the silence of the night, jolting Mark awake from his weary stupor. Room 313, the call he had been dreading. The woman whispered, terrified, her voice trembling with a fear that was palpable even over the phone line. The shower door had exploded outward, sending shards of glass flying across the bathroom like deadly projectiles, glass everywhere, a scene of utter chaos and destruction. Worse, the locked adjoining door had slowly creaked open, defying all logic and reason, revealing a sliver of unnatural darkness, a void that seemed to suck the light from the room. She felt watched, an unseen presence lurking just beyond the threshold, its eyes fixed upon her with malevolent intent. As her husband returned, drawn by her screams, the door clicked shut by itself, slamming with a force that echoed through the room, trapping them inside with whatever lurked within. The couple begged to move, pleading with Mark to find them another room, any room, to escape the horrors of 313. But the hotel was full. Every room was occupied, leaving them stranded in their nightmare. Mark checked the adjoining room, hoping to find some explanation, some rational cause for the couple's terror. Occupied by a businessman who claimed he'd slept through the night, oblivious to the chaos next door. Mark inspected 313, trying to make sense of the scene before him. Glass everywhere, a glittering carpet of destruction. the connecting door locked tight, seemingly impenetrable. He reassured the couple, offering words of comfort and attempting to downplay the events, though he himself was shaken. Double-checked the lock, ensuring it was securely fastened, though he knew in his heart that no physical barrier could keep out what haunted that room, and offered to comp their stay, a small gesture to compensate for the night of terror they had endured. The rest of the night was silent, but the air was thick with unease, a palpable sense of dread that hung heavy in the atmosphere. But the couple checked out at dawn, shaken, their faces pale and drawn, eager to escape the clutches of the haunted room, leaving a note, "You need to close that room for good," a desperate plea, a warning to prevent others from suffering the same fate. Mark never found answers, the mystery of room 313 remaining unsolved, a chilling enigma that haunted his memories. Complaints about 313 continued, a steady stream of unsettling reports that solidified its reputation as the hotel's most haunted space. He'll never forget the terror in that couple's eyes, a look of pure, unadulterated fear that spoke volumes about the horrors they had witnessed, or the sense that something watched from the darkness behind a door that should never open, a silent observer lurking just beyond the veil, forever bound to room 313. Clara, a solo traveler with a thirst for adventure and a love for the unknown, found herself drawn to Savannah, Georgia. She had heard whispers of its haunted history, its cobblestone streets echoing with tales of restless spirits and unsolved mysteries. Intrigued, she booked a stay at one of the city's oldest and most grand hotels, hoping to immerse herself in its unique atmosphere. She checked into a historic Savannah hotel, a place where time seemed to stand still. The lobby was adorned with antique furniture, its walls lined with portraits of figures from a bygone era. The air was thick with the scent of old wood and beeswax, a testament to the hotel's rich past. Clara was drawn by its charm and history, eager to explore its hidden corners and uncover its secrets. The hotel was more than just a place to stay. It was a portal to another time, a place where the past and present intertwined. Her room, a quaint space with vintage decor, was located at the end of a quiet hallway on the 4th floor. The hallway stretched out before her, dimly lit and eerily silent, adding to the hotel's mysterious ambiance. Each step she took echoed softly, amplifying the feeling of isolation. Across from her room, she noticed an elderly woman named Eleanor, her presence adding another layer of intrigue to the already mysterious setting. Eleanor seemed to be a relic of the past, her demeanor and attire hinting at a life lived in a different era. Eleanor struggled with a heavy steamer trunk, its worn leather and brass fittings suggesting it had traveled across continents and through time. The trunk seemed to hold not just belongings but also stories and secrets of its own. Feeling a sense of empathy, Clara offered to help her, their brief interaction leaving a lasting impression. As they worked together, Clara couldn't help but feel a connection to this enigmatic woman, a sense that their paths were intertwined in some inexplicable way. Clara couldn't help noting Eleanor's old-fashioned dress, a style reminiscent of the early 20th century, and her gentle manner which exuded an air of grace and refinement. There was something ethereal about Eleanor, as if she were a ghost from the past, briefly materializing in the present. The next day, a Do Not Disturb sign mysteriously appeared on Eleanor's door, its presence adding to the growing sense of unease. Clara couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss, that Eleanor's sudden seclusion was a sign of something more sinister. The sign remained undisturbed for days, casting a shadow of silence over the hallway. Days turned into an unsettling stretch of time, with no sign of Eleanor emerging from her room. The silence was deafening, broken only by the occasional creaks and groans of the old hotel. No sounds, no movement emanated from behind the closed door, fueling Clara's growing concern. The hallway felt colder, the air heavier, as if something unnatural was at play. Increasingly concerned, Clara decided to inquire at the front desk about Eleanor, hoping to find some explanation for her prolonged absence. She approached the receptionist, her heart pounding with a mixture of anxiety and anticipation. But the receptionist insisted. According to the hotel records, room 4B was vacant all week, and there was no guest registered by that name. The receptionist's words sent a chill down Clara's spine, casting doubt on her own memories and perceptions. Disturbed and determined to uncover the truth, Clara watched as a housekeeper entered 4B for cleaning, hoping to find some clue to Eleanor's whereabouts. She held her breath, her eyes fixed on the door as the housekeeper disappeared inside. To Clara's astonishment, the room was untouched, as if no one had occupied it in days. The beds were neatly made, the furniture was dust-free, and there was no sign of Eleanor or her belongings. However, a closer inspection revealed a disturbing detail. The closet door bore deep, jagged scratches, as if someone had desperately tried to escape from within. The scratches were raw and fresh, a stark contrast to the otherwise pristine condition of the room. Adding to the unsettling atmosphere, a faint scent of lavender lingered in the air, a delicate fragrance that seemed out of place amidst the growing sense of dread. The scent was subtle, almost imperceptible, yet it hung heavy in the air, a ghostly reminder of Eleanor's presence. As the housekeeper continued her search, she discovered a silver locket lying on the floor, its delicate chain tangled and its surface tarnished with age. The locket seemed to be a relic of the past, a forgotten treasure that held a secret waiting to be unlocked. Despite their efforts, there was no sign of Eleanor, no trunk, nothing to explain her sudden disappearance. It was as if she had vanished into thin air, leaving behind only a lingering mystery and a growing sense of unease. With a mix of fear and morbid curiosity, Clara peered inside the room once more, her eyes scanning every corner for any sign of Eleanor. The room was pristine, almost sterile, offering no clues to the mystery that had unfolded within its walls. But the scratches on the closet door were unmistakable, a chilling testament to the desperation and terror that had gripped someone within that room. The scratches were deep and raw, a visual representation of the struggle that had taken place. They looked like someone had tried to claw their way out, a desperate attempt to escape from an unseen force. The image of someone trapped and terrified within that closet haunted Clara's thoughts, fueling her determination to uncover the truth. Overwhelmed by the unsettling events, Clara made the decision to leave Savannah early, unable to shake the feeling that she had stumbled upon something truly sinister. The city's charm had been replaced by a sense of dread, and she longed to escape its haunted embrace. Despite Clara's insistence, the hotel staff continued to maintain that 4B was empty, dismissing her concerns as mere imagination. They offered no explanation for the scratches on the closet door or the lingering scent of lavender, leaving Clara to grapple with the unsettling mystery on her own. But Clara knew what she saw, what she felt: a vanished guest, a room that shouldn't have been empty, a mystery that defied explanation. The memory of Eleanor's gentle smile and the desperation etched on the closet door would forever haunt her dreams. She would never forget the lingering scent of lavender, the desperate marks on a closet door, and the unsettling feeling that Eleanor was still trapped within the walls of that historic Savannah hotel, a ghost forever searching for a way out. David, a seasoned business traveler, was no stranger to the open road. His work demanded constant movement, a life lived out of suitcases and fleeting moments in unfamiliar towns. One particularly late evening, after a long day of meetings and miles blurring past the windshield, he found himself pulling into a remote New Mexico motel. The neon sign flickered intermittently, casting an eerie glow on the otherwise deserted landscape. It wasn't much, but it was shelter. David had seen his share of questionable establishments during his travels. He was used to oddities, strange noises, and the general unease that came with sleeping in a different bed every night. So, as a matter of habit, he double-checked the locks, engaged the security chain, and even wedged a chair under the doorknob for good measure. He locked up tight, hoping for a peaceful night's sleep, and quickly fell into a restless slumber. At 3:15 a.m., the silence of the desert night was shattered. A soft, almost imperceptible tapping woke him. It was a gentle sound, barely audible, but enough to pull him from the depths of sleep. He froze, every muscle tense, listening intently. He strained his ears, trying to discern the source of the sound, his heart pounding in his chest. Was it just the wind, an animal outside, or something far more sinister? The tapping grew louder, more insistent, a rhythmic pulse against the silence. Then, just as suddenly as it began, it stopped. David crept to the door, his breath held tight in his chest. He peered through the peephole, his eyes scanning the empty motel parking lot. No one was outside, just the cold, unforgiving darkness of the New Mexico night. A wave of relief washed over him, but it was short-lived. Suddenly, a new sound emerged, a chilling, scraping noise that sent shivers down his spine. Scratching began at the bottom of the door, a desperate, frantic sound like fingernails dragging across wood. Then a raspy whisper slithered from beneath the door, a voice that seemed to claw its way into his mind. "Let me in!" The voice continued, laced with a chilling certainty. I know you're in there. I know you're hiding. And then, the most horrifying words of all, I can smell you. The voice was inhuman, guttural, chilling him to the very core of his being. It was a sound that defied explanation, a sound that spoke of something ancient and malevolent. David backed away, his heart hammering against his ribs, paralyzed by terror. He stumbled backward, putting as much distance as possible between himself and the door. The scratching intensified, growing more frantic, more desperate, as if whatever was on the other side was losing its patience. "It's cold out here," the voice rasped, a hint of pleading creeping into its tone. "Just open the door," it urged, the sound of the handle being tested, sending a fresh wave of fear through David. "I just want to see your face." In a desperate attempt to break the spell, to banish the darkness and the voice, he turned on the light. Instantly, as if a switch had been flipped, the noises stopped. The scratching, the whispering, the chilling presence, all gone. He sat awake until dawn, every nerve on high alert, too afraid to move, too afraid to even blink. The memory of the voice, the scratching, was etched into his mind, a terrifying loop playing over and over again. As the first rays of sunrise painted the sky, he cautiously, tentatively opened the door. The lot was empty, devoid of any sign of life, or any indication of the previous night's terror, except for a long, deep scratch on the concrete, a gouge that hadn't been there before, and wet prints marring the dusty surface, 2 distinct handprints and 2 knee prints, perfectly aligned, as if someone or something had knelt, peering intently under his door, desperate to see what lay within. David fled without checking out, his heart pounding in his chest, a primal fear driving him forward. He never reported it to the motel staff or the authorities. Who would believe him? He knew how it sounded, the ramblings of a man who'd lost his grip on reality. But he'll never forget the voice, that chilling, inhuman whisper that invaded his room that night, the scratching, the desperate, frantic sound of something trying to break through, or the haunting image of something desperate, something hungry, something utterly terrifying, desperate to be let in. Our stay is over, but the silence that follows these stories is the most unsettling of all. Even in places built for rest, some things never sleep. Tonight, double-check your locks. You never know who or what might visit. Ordinary places can hide the darkest secrets, and sometimes we're the ones who stumble upon them. Have you had a hotel horror story? Share it in the comments. I read everyone. Thanks for joining me in the shadows. Subscribe for more tales of terror. Until next time, try to get some rest.